Hello. So, as promised, I have decided to record a video on pfsense, HAProxy, and Let's Encrypt certificates. It's something that's been popping up an awful lot in the subreddit recently. So, yeah, let's have a go at this, shall we? So, this is a VM of pfsense running. This is not my production system. I will be obfuscating some of the IPs and things like that, obviously, and credentials. Common sense sort of stuff. Anyway, let's just crack on because you don't want to hear me rambling. So this is a pretty much default pfsense install. I have two interfaces, a WAN and a LAN. So let's just go here. There we are. There's my WAN interface and my LAN. It's not really a WAN. It's all internal IPs, but whatever. This is accessible outside if I really wanted it to be. Anyway, so I'm also going to be using Cloudflare as my DNS provider. I do recommend using them because it's just so much simpler. I'm not going to go over the Cloudflare setup because it's a bit involved and I don't really want to show too much of my own settings. So if you need some help with setting up pfsense, there's plenty of Cloudflare. There's plenty of guides out there to help you out. So the first thing I'm going to need is your Cloudflare API key, which you can get from your account page on Cloudflare, and you'll also need to set up a DNS entry. Say, for example, I'm using the subdomain of test and then my actual top level domain. I'll be using a live top level domain for this because you need to in order to get a Let's Encrypt certificate. However, you don't actually have to have your firewall open on ports 80 and 443 if you're only using this for internal certificates. If you don't want it accessible outside, you don't have to be. If you actually look at my Gnat, however, yeah, I've got nothing in there at all at this point in time. So this is pretty much blank. So the first thing we need to do really is go to our package manager, and you'll see there's no packages installed. I need to install the Acme and HAProxy packages. So I'll just go ahead and install the Acme package. There we go, that's our Acme package. And now we go back to available packages and HAProxy. There we are. HAProxy development as well is an option. I've never actually used it. It is a higher version, so it might be a good idea, but this is what I'm going to use today. It's a standard base one. Let's get that installed. There we go, lovely. So we'll now see in our services we'll have Acme certificates and HAProxy. So let's firstly go into Acme certificates. You'll notice, remember, just to ram this point home, I don't have anything open for 80 and 443. Okay, in fact the rules are very, very default. Okay, there we are. So HAProxy. No, not HA. Sorry, my mistake. Acme certificates. So what I need to do first is create an account key. I'm hoping this works because I've been testing a little bit and I might have overdone my Let's Encrypt certificate generation, but we'll see. So we're going to call this demo le cert. Description if you so wish to put one in. So you've got your testing purposes one, which I might have to go to if I can't generate an actual live certificate. So testing purposes is a good idea to start with because there's rate limits when you generate a Let's Encrypt certificate. You can create so many per day. I forget what the actual figure is. Have a look on the Let's Encrypt site. You'll find out. But the testing ones, because they are certificates, but they're not trusted certificates, you will find that yes, you can bring a certificate in and it will be signed, but your browser will not actually trust it, so you'll get that warning. Okay, so we're going to go for a production email address. So this is the email address against your Cloudflare account. This is basically to send you, well, it says it sends you automated certificate expiration notices. So I'm going to put in my actual email address in here. Hopefully I can blank all this out in post. Right, account key, you generate it. Okay, so now we have generated the account key, we now register it. And we get a tick, so that's good news. So now we have got this part, so we need to go to certificates. We have nothing to search for, so let's go to add. The account key should be created and registered. Oh, okay. Oh, alright. I didn't hit save, did I? Right, okay. Demo LE cert. So that one there. Email address, once again. And account key, generate, register. Hopefully we'll still get that tick. Yes, we do. Save it. There we are. Certificates. Right, so we've got our demo cert here. Let's encrypt. I've not put description in, whatever. So add. Right. Do I want to call it demo LE cert? Let's call this demo LE root cert. Description. Well, I can put a description in here if I like. Root certificate. As you might have guessed, I'm going for the root here. So in here then, this is where you make a choice where you're having your root certificates or not. You can generate a certificate per service, per subdomain. So I could put in here test.my domain name, my top level domain, if I wanted to. I could put in here bob.domain.com if I wanted to. But we're going for a full-on root certificate. So star, which is a wildcard, and then my actual live production top level domain. So method, we need that to be DNS Cloudflare. And in here is where you paste your API key. Now, in there. And then your email address, which your Cloudflare account is registered. We don't care about a token or account ID. Yep. That'll do. Save it. Okay, now we hit issue. And hopefully this will work, because as I said, I've been messing about with this, so it might error me. We shall see. If it does, I'm stopping this video and starting it again. Hopefully we'll see a nice big green box in a minute with loads of text in it. Oh, it doesn't happen instantly. Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, there we go. Yeah, we're fine. We're happy. So we've got all of that there done. Right. Okay, so if we go back to our certificates now, general settings, right. So if we go to certificates, we've got that there. That's in there. General settings. Now, when you're actually up and running with this, you want to be ticking cron entry at least. That basically every day at 3:16 AM will check if that certificate's about to expire. Let's Encrypt certificates run for 90 days. So basically this goes, right, how old's that certificate? Which you can find out here. So it was last renewed Sunday 23rd of February 2020, 8:26 AM. If that is, say, 61 days away from now, this will automatically just renew it. You don't have to worry about it. The write certificates, that puts it somewhere else if you need to use it for some other system or whatever, but I'm not going to worry about that now. So there we go, we have our certificate created. In fact, if we also go into our cert manager, yeah, there we are. We can see our Let's Encrypt certificate is there, and you can do many. You can even sign pfsense itself with this if you wanted to. Anyway, so we got that part out of the way. We now need something with which to actually put a certificate onto. Now I've spun up a basic web server. Very basic, as you'll see in a minute. So if I go to our services, status and DHCP leases, we have two entries here. I don't know why it says offline, because it isn't. But this is a web server. So this is 192.168.88.43. So if I go to HTTP 192.168.88.43, we get the very default Apache 2 Ubuntu default page. Notice two things. One, I typed in HTTP. Two, it is not secure. Now, for completion's sake, let's type in HTTPS 192.168.88.43. That will not work because it's not there. Just to prove a point, if we bring up a command prompt. So now if we go to telnet 192.168.88.43 on port 80, it will connect. Okay. If we do the same but on 443, which is HTTPS, that won't connect. That server is not listening on HTTPS or port 443, okay, at all. So what we need to do, we need to go into actually, what order is this? I think first we'll create a virtual IP. Now the reason I'm creating a virtual IP will become fairly clear a bit later. So I need to create an IP address in this range that I'm running here. So let's say, what range am I on? So, well, we're 192.168.88.0/24. 24 being the side of it, whatever. So if I bring up a ping on 192.168.88.130, and we'll make that a persistent ping. Okay, it is not responding at this point in time, as you can see. So if we now go to our IP alias and we want to put it on LAN, okay, and I want 192.168.88 dot, and what did I put in there because I've forgotten already? 130. This needs to be a /32 because it is only one IP. I'm not putting a range in here. Okay. Description, I'm going to call this HAProxy LB, as in load balance. Okay. Save it. Apply it. When I apply that, you'll see that starts pinging. There we go. So I have a virtual IP. Good idea to create these outside of your DHCP scope. Okay, you don't want to suddenly be leasing out an IP that's in use by a virtual IP. You'll be going, where the hell's that coming from? Anyway, so we've got that. That is important to know. Important to create the virtual IP. You'll see why in a moment. So now if we go back to our services, HAProxy. And we have here, so we've got all of these. Now by default, some of these fields aren't set. That is blank, so I've set this to 1000 for this. It gives you a table here of how much RAM it would use per connection. So one connection is 50k. 1000 connections will take 48 megabytes. 10,000 would 488 megabytes, and so on and so forth. I've set this to 1000 for home use. That's more than ample. The other one you will need to set is the reason these are set is because I've set them and then uninstalled the package and reinstalled it, but it keeps them in there. Okay, so by default this is actually 1024. It will complain at you. In fact, I'll show you that. Yeah. When you enable HAProxy, it is not enabled by default. Don't make that mistake. You have to go in here and enable it. Okay. Save. Oh, it didn't complain at me. Okay, but normally it does. Anyway, I'm going to set this as 2048. Sorry. There we go. Right, so that's fine. That's all enabled. We now need to create a backend. The backend is what is actually going to talk to this chappy here, this web server. Okay, so in here we're going to call this the what shall I call this? I'm going to call this web demo, and the server list. So I'm going to give this a name. I can call this whatever I like. The actual VM is called web, so I'm going to call it web, and the address is 192.168.88.43, as in this address here. And it is on port 80. This can be any port you like. For example, if you've got, I think Synology uses port 5000. Just stick that in there. Do not put Encrypt SSL unless you are connecting to something that is already over HTTPS. But generally, don't bother with that. Load balancing with multiple services defined, or haven't got multiple servers. access control lists. You can do some fun stuff in here. You can actually create rules that say only certain IPs can connect to this server and yada yada yada. I'm not going to worry about any of that right now. Okay, that's way out of scope of what I'm doing here. So we have here our web demo. At the moment, nothing's going to happen, but you can see you can create many web demos in here. Create many backends in here, and then you reference all the backends in your front end config, which we don't have yet. So we need in here a front end. So I'm going to call this HTTP 80. Okay, and it is active, and it's going to listen on that virtual IP we created, which I also named HAProxy LB. Okay, on port 80, and in actions we need to use an HTTP request redirect. Put in scheme HTTPS in there. Okay, and we also need to put in use forward 4. That means anything else? Nope. Now I'll explain what this does. The HTTP request redirect, then the rules scheme HTTPS, basically means if someone hits your web server or whatever it is you're putting HAProxy on port 80 or HTTP, it will redirect it to HTTPS. Okay, so I'm going to save that out now. Yep, apply that, and now we're going to create one more, and that is going to be HTTPS 443. Again, whatever name you like, I'm just giving it that. That is going to again listen on there on port 443, and we are SSL offloading at this occasion. Okay, so we will then go and find the use forward 4 option, and we have our certificate. Now if you've got many certificates you can choose them here, but we've only got the one really to use. Pretty much use default, but I'm going to tick that as well. Yeah. Okay, so apply those changes. Again, at this point in time, nothing's really going to happen until we now reference our backend, which we created here. So we don't need to edit the port 81 anymore. Okay, we're done with that. So we now need an access control list here. So we're going to call this the web demo. Host starts with, you can put many things in here, but I'm using host starts with because I want it to match the very front. So the value is the DNS entry you've created on your Cloudflare account. Now, as we already said, this is test, and then your top level domain. So you need to put in the fully qualified domain of that. So basically, if someone comes and talks to HAProxy requesting this domain and with subdomain, then we want to do the following action. So we want to use this backend. We've only got one selected. We've only got one available, web demo, and then we put in here the ACL name, the access control list name. So this has to be exactly what that is. Okay, capitalization, everything has to be exactly the same. Okay, once you've done that, you're pretty much golden. Okay, right, so we're good there. Again, at this point in time, nothing's really going to happen because we still don't know how to talk to it. So what we're going to do here is let's create a Gnat. This is if you're going to access it externally. I might as well go through it all now. So we're going to create a Gnat. So interface is WAN, WAN address. Yeah, if you've got more than one WAN address, well, you can sort that out. Destination port range is going to be HTTP, and the redirect target IP is going to be that virtual IP we created. So that's 192.168.88.130. Again on HTTP. Okay. And we're going to create one more just below that. Right, destination WAN address again and HTTPS. And again, 192.168.88.130 to HTTPS once more. We'll apply those changes. So let's have a little breakdown of what's happening here. So if someone comes externally now, because you've already defined the subdomain on your Cloudflare account. Oh, by the way, don't turn off the little orange cloud thing next to it unless you want rate limits, but turn off the orange cloud thing. It makes life a lot easier for you. So someone comes in, goes to the web address and types in your domain, test.yourdomain.com. Cloudflare will tell them to come here. Your pfsense firewall will then say, right, I know what to do with you. So I'm going to basically say, anything that hits port 80 or 443, I want to pass to this virtual IP here. This virtual IP here then will then pop over to HAProxy, because it knows what this virtual IP is for. It will go, right, okay, so you want 192.168.88.130. Lovely. Okay, and you're after this domain. Right, okay, fine, you can have this server then. Off you go, crack on. So again, nothing here at the moment. But internally, because you don't want to go out of the internet, this will work right now, but bear with me. You don't want to go out of the internet to come back in, known as hairpinning or tromboning or doglegging, to hit your home web interface, your web server. Why would you want to do that? You just want to directly talk to it, don't you? Okay, so remember again, this virtual IP. This virtual IP is very important for us today. So now we just go to our services and we go to DNS Resolver. Okay, in fact, let's prove a point. We've still got a ping up on there. No, I'm not going to prove a point because it's going to make life awkward for me to edit. If I was to ping this web address right now, it would resolve, but it'd be an external address, but it'd be a bit of a pain. So, right, so we want to create a host override. And in this host, we're going to put in test there. Then the domain, which is our domain name, our proper domain name, not the internal one. Okay, and the IP address, well, that's that one. That's that lovely virtual IP we've already created. And we'll apply it. So I should now be able to go to HTTP and then the domain name. So HTTP. Let's wait for it. Oh, come on now. You can go quicker than that. I think it's getting itself in a bit of a twist because it's a VM. There we go. Right. So you can see two things have happened here. One, it's gone to HTTPS. Okay. Two, it's connection secure. It's got a valid certificate. There we go. So just to recap then. In fact, just to also really prove the point, that web address is still HTTPS, right? So 192.168.88.43. That ain't gonna work, okay? And then HTTP 192.168.88.43. That does, but it's not secure, okay? So now when we go to our actual HTTP, it redirects, slaps a certificate on it, job done, okay? So that's pretty much all you need to do. So just to recap then, what we have done, we have created a certificate. We have then, obviously, we've installed Acme and HAProxy first. We've created a certificate. We've gone into HAProxy. We've created a backend which points to that web server, as you can see here. We've created a front end that addresses that web server. And then we've created a DNS resolver to go to that web page internally. Of course, that would only work if you use pfsense as your DNS service as well. If you use another DNS service, you'll need to put an override in for that as well. Okay, just to save you going out and back in. You don't want to go out and back in if you can help it. You just want to go straight across to the box. Anyway, hope anyone's found this useful. There we go. Cheers.